Good morning. As you all know, there's been so much floods around the world. Dubai, there's floods. In Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, there's floods. There's Kenya, there's floods. So today I just want to discuss that, you know, uh, chart a new course towards a more resilient and sustainable future regarding these floods. I think by investing in sustainable land use policies would help us avoid these floods all over the country, all over the world that we're seeing. The recent floods in Kenya serve as a stark reminder of the urgent need of action. Something needs to be done. We cannot afford to wait for the next disaster because that will just be terrible. Something has to be done now. So to strike before it acts, or to strike before we act, then things have to be done. Things have to be put in place. So it's time to come together as people of one nation, and then, or as politicians, or as the government, then prioritize the safety and well-being of our citizens, the people of the country, especially those who are most vulnerable. The children, the older people, people with disability. The government should come up with the future of how to take care of these people. Only then can we hope to build a more resilient and sustainable future for the generations to come. Because we must figure how land is being used or utilized. Because if you block water, it will find a way. We have to find a sustainable way of making city or town planning by investing in sustainable land use priorities, effective emergency planning and mitigation, or having mitigated strategies that we can ensure that puts us in a better place. How do we prepare to face the challenges ahead? So I think the whole people just have to work together. The cities, the government, or organizations in these countries, because something has to be done. So this pressing issue that has plagued countries, and it's not only in Kenya, but I'm going to talk about the one in Kenya. These devastating floods have been terrible. I've never seen anything like this. Our elders tell us they've never seen anything like this ever. You know, um, so it's the first time, which means something has changed between our elders and what's happening now. These recent events have not only caused measurable loss of life, but they have also left hundreds and thousands of people displaced and vulnerable. They don't know what to do. So the warnings from scientists were clear. They've been there. The warnings from the city planners have been there. So what that means is we needed to prepare as a people. Yet, despite these warnings, we find ourselves unprepared and vulnerable to the wrath of nature. So now nature has won, yet we were warned. Now, Cyclone Hidayah is coming. But sadly, the measures to mitigate its impact fall way short, leaving a lot of people exposed to destruction and suffering in its wake. So, what are we doing wrong? How do we prepare and make sure these things do not happen? So, in the past few weeks, over 200 people have lost their lives, and more than 200 individuals have been displaced, and they don't have anywhere to go. Communities in Maimahiu and other areas of the country bear the brunt of all these floods. It's a catastrophe that needs planning, and being prepared. So it's crucial to recognize that those affected are primarily from poor, marginalized, and at-risk populations. Of course, like I said earlier, including children, persons with disability, and the elderly. So the tragedy has not only served to exacerbate the challenges faced by these people who are already vulnerable, it has just made the situation worse. So something has to be done. You're already in a bad situation, now you go from the fire into the frying pan. So this plight, I agree, is not isolated. It's not like one only in Kenya, it's all over. Tragically, we have contributed significantly to the global statistics of natural disasters right now. Over the last 2 decades, floods and drought have claimed the lives of almost 200,000 people and affected a staggering 3 billion people globally. So now we're in part of that statistics. What's even more alarming is the disproportionate impact on economically and politically marginalized populations. Is there some politics in this? Studies estimate that the risk of communities that are vulnerable is 15 times higher than the middle class. So, statistics shows that if you're a vulnerable person or you're a poor person, you're 15 times higher than a middle class person to be affected by these natural calamities, which means something can be done by the human beings or the people in charge or people who make decisions. So where do we go from here? It's evident that the status quo is no longer acceptable. It's not working. We cannot continue to ignore the warning and neglected the needs of the most vulnerable people amongst us. We must make actions to address both the immediate and long-term challenges posed by these natural disasters. Because we know who it affects. Do we not care because it does not affect us directly, or how are we going to do to improve on this? What I can say is, first and foremost, we need robust disaster preparedness. We also need response mechanisms to be put in place. This includes early warning systems so that we know something is coming and prepare people. Evacuation plans, somebody has to come up with evacuation plans. You cannot just wait with no plans how to evacuate people. There's also need to have access to emergency supplies and shelters. If rain is coming, where are you going to shelter? Where are you going to, whether you're not a middle class or not, where are you going to shelter? We must also prioritize investment on infrastructure that can withstand extreme weather events and provide support to communities in hazard-prone areas. These are huge. These are government opportunities to work on getting people better infrastructure and shelter because they care about the people. Furthermore, we need to address the underlying issues of poverty. We need to underline the issues of inequality and issues of marginalization. This has just made the situation worse. The impact of natural disaster has really affected those people who are mostly poor, who are due to inequality and marginalization. This means ensuring equitable access to resources, services, and opportunities to all segments of the society, particularly those who are most at risk. I know this is not going to be taken well, but they're the ones who suffer the most. Finally, we must engage in global efforts to combat climate change, which is making this frequent and intense and extremely uh, hard or strong weather events. So we cannot tackle the challenges alone when it comes to climate change. But I think we must work with the international community to reduce greenhouse emissions and also build resilience or resilient to climate changes. So besides that, this lack of sustainable land use policies have also made the situation worse. Emergency planning and mitigating strategies in the face of natural disasters. We must grapple with the aftermath of all this by having planning plans ahead so we are prepared when this natural disaster comes. It's evident that the current approach is insufficient and unsustainable. The devastation caused by the floods underscores the urgent need for proactive measures to address the root cause of such disasters. Like I say again, unsustainable land use practices, unchecked urbanization, and inadequate infrastructure for this unchecked urbanization have all contributed to the vulnerability of communities across the country. So we cannot continue to ignore these systems that are in place. If we hope to build a resilient and protect our citizens from future catastrophes, we must have better town and city planning, and we cannot approve every building just because it's a building. I know there's city planners, I know there's counties that do check this, but these floods are caused by this unchecked urbanization that is just growing. The lack of effective emergency planning and mitigation strategies has only made even the situation worse. So we do this, and then there's no plan for emergency or or any strategies. Therefore, we feel the impact of the floods. The water has to go somewhere. Communities were caught off guard. They didn't know what was going on. They were ill prepared. They did not know to deal with the scale of destruction and loss of life, property, and peace of mind. This cannot be allowed to happen again to our people. These are our brothers and sisters. I think investing in early warning system, evacuation plans, and disaster response, we have to do that to ensure that we are in a better situation, better equipped to handle emergencies in the future. So our focus should not solely be on recovery efforts, while it's to address crucial immediate needs to affected communities. We must take opportunity to address and improve our comprehensive disaster management approach. This requires a concerted effort by the government, by the people, regarding sustainable land use policies. If the land use policies are checked, are put in place, that is half the battle. Because now no building will be put in a place that you feel, if you definitely know it's going to affect the water flow in the area. Then emergency planning, so that at least we can get people out of danger if something happens. So we cannot afford to make the mistakes of the past. If you fail to act now, regarding floods or other disasters, well, we will continue to be suffering in times like that, in tough situations. So we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to the future generation by having or implementing comprehensive, inclusive, and sustainable policies to mitigate this great impact of natural disasters. I just wanted to say that I really feel bad for the people who have lost their lives. I feel bad for the families who are homeless. I really feel bad for the people who are in shock and they don't know what to do. But what do we do? How do we improve from that? It's just by having policies that work, the land use policies, and the government can be strict on who gives people which permits to build which buildings where. With those few remarks, I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It's a tough time. It's a horrible time. We are all sad. And sometimes we have to discuss it. We have to talk about it. It's not going to go away by itself. It has to be discussed. But I just want to say thank you. If you have reached this far watching this, please subscribe to this channel. Share with your friends, family members. Let's discuss. Sometimes it only starts with a discussion, people talking about it, and then a solution may come out. I've started the conversation. Can you guys discuss, add, remove? Again, these are just my opinions. I may be wrong, I may be right. And I'm very open to anybody coming and discussing this. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.